This is the Min.Israel Show.
Hey everybody, good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time of day you are catching the Min.Israel Show right here on this series, the ongoing series, the hit series, the joys and the woes of singlehood, a series designed for singles, Christian singles who are looking to transition from single life to married life without compromising their faith, their conviction, their values, and just everything that they are in Christ, just to be married. So hang in there. This is season 3, people of God. Three. Season 3. And this, believe it or not, time has gone so fast. This is episode 10 already. 10. Okay, God's been good. This is November, people of God. Year's already out. Listen, we have an interesting conversation for y'all tonight. My panelists are here. They're going to introduce themselves in just a moment. But get this, we are talking about wedding plans. Are there some questions you should be asking as you get ready for the big day? So this particular episode is for those of y'all that already have a ring put on ya. Put a ring on it. Okay. I want to sing that song, should I put a ring on it? No, forget that one. Scratch that. I want to sing the song with, what's this woman now? Amanda Malela from Congo. Legalize somebody. Hey, have you know that song? Get down one night. Legalize somebody. So if you're being proposed to, this is the show for y'all, okay?
The Min.Israel Show. We'll be right back.
First off, okay, so we know obviously weddings are a family and friends affair, right? I don't think we're going to argue much on that. But then I have to ask, what are some of the questions that individuals who are about to get married, so like I said, have already engaged, they're planning towards their big day. What are some of the questions that they should be asking in your opinion, guys?
Are you in debt?
Are you in debt?
Yeah. And I say that because are you in debt, number one? Number two, priority in terms of, do you own a home already? So if we already own a home, like maybe he owns a home and I'm moving in, so what, are you in debt? Where are we going to live? Are we buying or not? If you've already bought, excellent, you're going to move in, right? If you haven't bought, then you need to be asking, are we buying or are we renting while we save up? Which is why the first thing would then be, are you in debt? Because if you're in debt, do you have student loans, for example? Do you have student loans? Do you have credit card loans? Do you have any kind of loans that we should be pulling our resources together, consolidating, paying off?
Right.
Are you in debt? What are your finances like? Number one. Number two, after determining where you're living, do you want a big wedding or do you want a small wedding?
Okay. Finances in question there is debt. And then the second question there is big or small wedding. Well, Minister Israel, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so ma'am, I would like to start from where Ms. Becks stopped from. She said, are you in debt? Then finance. Which type of wedding do you want to? I think that's a priority too.
Yeah.
So if you're planning a wedding, it's important you talk about which type of wedding do you want to plan, because there are different type of weddings. Yeah. We have weddings that is for the crowd. We have some that is for the city. We have weddings that is for Instagram. Like we have different type of weddings. So it's important that you plan, which type of wedding. And I think these days, gone are the days where they have just one particular way of doing things. But in our generation, there are options. So people are just putting together what is suitable for them.
Yeah.
Right. So I heard a story of a senior colleague.
Yeah.
he was working in an organization, so he has been planning to do wedding with his bride.
Right.
And so one day, like the regular day that everybody will go out for lunch, he just step out of the office to go have lunch. And 1 hour later, he returned back to the office, married. So people were surprised, like, you didn't tell us what happened, blah, blah, blah. He said they both agree that they don't want it to be all over the places. They just want to get married. So apparently, he has been communicating with the lady and the parent. So they just all went to the court, do the blessing, join them together. Like within 1 hour, he's back to the office with a ring. I mean, everybody was surprised. Are you? It's like, I just got married.
Wait, I have to ask, Minister Israel, this is in Nigeria?
Yes.
Oh,
I'm impressed.
That's what I was saying. I'm impressed. Listen, if that was America, if that was out here in these parts of the world,
just go to the courts.
Because people be eloping. That sounds like quote unquote eloping sort of thing, right?
Yes.
Amazing. They were able to pull that off in Nigeria, one of the biggest countries in Africa where weddings is actually a business.
Massive. Yeah, it's a massive thing. But I mean, that's why I was saying that they should be able to talk about it. That what do you really want? And so he was able to pull that. 2 weeks later, he bought a brand new car for the lady that he got married to. So he said that the expenses, the wedding expenses, the money they put together, he just needs to get a ride for the lady so that she'll not be jumping buses up and down. So
as his wife.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, so I'm sharing this to let people know that whatever you want, you can talk about it and just carve it out. I mean, people will talk, but I mean, it's your wedding, it's your marriage. So
Absolutely.
you should be able to decide that which type of wedding do you want to. So I think it's very important. Like by the time you sort that out, then we'll now be looking at, okay, how many people are we looking at? What's the cost implication? Where's the location?
Yeah.
Are we renting a hall? Are we using a garden? Like there are different options.
Yeah.
So people just have to come. They need to communicate this, and they will kick off with it.
The Maggie Mugai Show will be right back.
I so like that, guys. Y'all have brought in some amazing points, and starting it from that aspect of debt, because I think what people be doing is creating these castles in the air. They build these castles and they're, this is how we're going to do it. And mainly because, like you said, Minister Israel, there are different kinds of weddings, but most weddings these days are for Instagram, are for the crowd. Okay. And you find people are forgetting to have a genuine look at their finances to determine what kind of wedding they should have. Because the truth of the matter is, we need to understand just what exactly is the wedding ceremony. I think we need to define that for people, because everybody has this notion of, well, what makes it a legal affair is, well, I'm going to need to go, and I don't want to touch on next week's show, but they feel like I'm going to need to do it this way. I need to have this X amount of people. But I love something I heard my season 1 guest on Purity and Boundaries, evangelist Peter Ikechukwu. He made a post on this on Instagram, and he said, why are y'all not understanding the essence of a marriage ceremony or the wedding itself, right? And he said the whole point of that is to bring two families together and join them before God and man. Y'all could come in.
Do you know the weird thing about that is, coming back to what you were just saying, so I studied law, that's my training background, and family law is what I specialized in.
Okay.
And I remember, like, quite early on, one of the modules we went into was the fact that in this country, traditional marriages are recognized. There is a space for recognizing that this couple didn't marry in the English system, it would still be recognized. So, you don't have to say, I must go to the registry, I have to go to a church, a chapel, or whatever. I think part of that is, okay, you're gonna laugh at this, but I feel like there's this crazy buzz going on with the wedding industry, and I liken it to the frenzy with Christmas time, because Christmas time people seem to lose their heads and get into a lot of debt.
Sure.
And wedding season, when people are getting married, that's exactly what happens. They just lose their head. And a friend of mine, when she was about to get married, she asked the decorator, she's like, how much would it cost? And the person said maybe something like £400. And then she said, okay. And then they were like, well, how much will it cost if it's a wedding? And the woman said 1,500. Same venue, same amount of people, just a different occasion. So she said, yeah, so there is a higher price put on it because it's a wedding. So she said, well, but it's the same venue.
Yeah.
It's the same amount of people, same chairs, whatever. What's making a difference? She was like, well, actually, even though it's the same venue and whatever, like even the decorations cost a bit more just because it's a wedding.
Wow.
So there is there's something going on.
Going on.
Do you know what I mean? And I actually think, well, this is just me, but I really think that a part of it is just spiritual, because one of the, I used to volunteer at my old church, Holy Trinity Brompton, and we did the premarital guidance course. I did that even without being engaged or anything. And they said the two things that would break a marriage are communication and finances.
Yeah, not
and
surprised.
The amount of people that I know who, when they were getting married, really argued about finances, family getting involved, ugly arguments. And then after the wedding, they were in debt, paying off, almost, a year, 2 years, paying off debt for the wedding. Yeah. And people really are so stressed. So for me, I feel like it's a westernized, frenzied propaganda. I really do think that like you said, people lose sight of what's important. Your wedding day is one day. I don't care. Okay. Maybe you can have a wedding day for like a week, or if it's Indian or whatever, you can drag it out for maybe a month or so. But you're not going to be having a wedding day every day of your married life. You're just not.
Right.
You're going to you're going to stop the wedding, procession and whatever, and you're eventually going to transit to married life. So what's more important? And I haven't met a single person who had a big wedding who didn't say to me, Rebecca, I wish we didn't spend that much money. Not one person.
Right.
The Maggie Mugai Show will be right back.
Not surprised. So this is what we're saying about just understanding the essence of what exactly is that marriage ceremony that we call the wedding, right? Mm-hmm. The actual wedding day, the day we have the marriage ceremony of joining two families to become one. And I think that's the part where, like you said, many are losing it. And I think it also has to do, to be honest, with a show that I had with Johanna King. She spoke about the marriage idol. We've been carrying these ideas right from our childhood. And then social media is not making it any easier, right? Mm-hmm. So we are planning a wedding ceremony, not even just for ourselves, but for the whole world, for the world to see. Well, so and so had this at their wedding. I need to have it so that I can show them that. And this is how people are ruining their married life right from the get-go, because like you said, indeed, finances and communication are two big things in a marriage, and they need to be addressed. Now, with that said, can we talk about families being involved? Because again, marriage in itself is a family affair, two families coming together. Mm-hmm. Friends, kind of like your friends would be your husband's friends. Your husband's friends would also be your friends. So, there's this mix of people that's going to be happening. Maybe we should just touch a little bit on that as something that people need to actually address on how involved such should be how much should these people be involved?
It depends, doesn't it? So, and I think I really want to hear what Minister Israel will say as soon as I'm done. Please, Minister Israel, please, because I want to hear like a male perspective on this. But I think it really depends on the dynamic of your friendship and your family. I'm the youngest in my family, and my baby girl extends to that because I really am such a baby girl, for real. So being the youngest in my family, my siblings are married, and I remember just randomly having a conversation with my sister, and I said, you know how I want a small wedding, and she was like, yeah, you're just saying that for your back pocket. That's not good. You're not going to tell me how many people I can invite or whatever. We don't have parents, so my sister's like my mom, right? And I remember thinking, I'm sorry, what? Like, I've never experienced that. I used to think it was other people that experienced the mom and the dad saying, no, this is what you're going to do. So when my sister had such a strong, reaction, I thought, I'm confused. What's going on here? And I remember feeling a little bit resentful because I thought, well, when you were getting married, I was 8. I didn't even get to have a say in the matter. Why should you have a say in mine? And then I realized that it really boils down to the dynamics. Okay. Number one, and it boils down to, I think, the strength of the couple in question. So you cannot I can't be a strong-minded individual who's able to stand up to my family, right? And then you're the weaker link, and then you give in to either your family or my family's pressure. Right. We have to, before you bring it to family, I really believe you need to settle it with God, with yourself. So it's myself and my husband, my future husband, we settle within ourselves in unity what we want to do. Yeah. And then we open it to family and friends. That way, because we're already united, we have a united front, we're strong in that. When we open it to family, we're not going to budge. It's like, well, this is what we're going to do respectfully. Yes. We're going to honor you. We're going to honor you. But this is what we're going to do. I was watching a video earlier today. I didn't want to send it to you because I was like, I'm just going to share it. It was this young couple, and the caption was so powerful. It just said something along the lines of, when you decide to listen to God's leading and you move with speed into your wedding / marriage. And basically, and then she said, and then you plan it in six weeks. So they planned their registry, their court wedding, and a church blessing in 6 weeks, which is excellent. Amazing. And then she said they were doing that based on what direction they had from God. Okay. And then she said the big wedding can come after. And I'm a big fan of that. With the last show, I said something about date for the future, pick for your future. I think this is how you should be with everything. Right. Don't go with the finances you have now. Go with what you're planning for the future. Right. So don't have a big wedding of 20K, 25, 30,000 pounds now because you happen to have the job that means you can pay for that. No, what are your 5-year, 10-year plan? Right. You don't have to spend all the money you have. That's it. You just don't have to. Do you know what I mean? And she said, wedding will come later. I have 2 friends I have a friend who, I went to Greece earlier this year, later on this year, and they had a wedding, a renewal of vow at their 10-year mark, because when they got married initially, they just went to the registry. They have a house, they have children. They can do that comfortably with wisdom. Right. You have a house, you know where you're going to live, you're going to loan the money, and you're going to have a big Instagram wedding? For who? Right. Listen, it's so funny. This is, I don't know if this is a guy or a girl. A TD mama says 30K for one day. People should fear God. Sister, bro. I've been to a wedding that was 50,000 pounds, and that was like 5 years ago. People should fear God. Minister Israel, jump in, sir. Wow. And you better fear God. You better fear God.
Well, Boma, really, I like what you said, Ms. Beck. It has to do with individual and the family, right? So there are some families that they want to sponsor the wedding, and I think that is allowed. So in situation where you're telling your parents, I want everything quite. In fact, let me give an instance. In Nigeria, there is this tribe they call the Yoruba, like the Yoruba people. You can't tell your parents that, Mom, I want to do a quiet wedding. The mother will scream that, hey, while I'm still alive, you want to have a small wedding? No, what happens to my family? What happens to my friend's friend? I will give them clothes. I will give them traditional. So the mother will now be telling you, our family members, our colleagues, the association she belonged to while she was on campus. This one, like, she will narrate you. She will give you reasons why you cannot do a small wedding. Right, so that's why I'm saying that it has to do with the family, like your family and the family of the spouse. I also love what you said about both of you should have an agreement first, because when you have an agreement, you'll be able to sell it to the family.
Yeah.
Right, so if both of your spouse have agreed that this is what we want to do, this is how we want to do it, this is our budget, this is the place you are looking at, they will. So anybody that is coming to modify it or going to enlarge it for you, that means that the one that is putting in their money to do that, both of you know already that this is what you want to do. So I cite that example because obviously, the mother that is telling her daughter or the son that you're not going to do this party like this, it means that she is the one that wants to fund it. Not like she's funding it generally, but it means that she's going to make an input to it. So I believe that it's important for couples to have an agreement. You both of decide that this is what you want to do, this is how you want to do it, then now go, prayerfully go to your families, go and present to them that, so dad, mom, this is what we want to do, we need your support, we need you to come in. But it's important that both of you decide that, because if you don't, see, I mean, just like you said, you just spend all your money on the wedding. And also I like to put it that couples or people that are planning to get married should pay attention that the wedding is just little. There is always life after the wedding. I also want couples to also know that honeymoon should be taken seriously. And when we say honeymoon now, it doesn't mean that you should fly to Bahamas or go to that luxury places. But make sure that you plan your honeymoon. It's very important because that is the first few period that you get to spend together. I think some couples are not paying attention to that. I mean, you see people, they'll get married today and next tomorrow they're back at work. I'm like, what happened?
Because they're in debt, because they're paying off their debt.
Exactly.
That's why. Fun fact. Do you know that there's a place in the Bible where God said that when a man gets married, so this was for military guys,
1
year. And the reason God in his infinite wisdom did that is what Minister Israel was just touching on. The fact that there's, they call it, the psychologists call it the merge crisis. So it is when after you've been in a relationship and whatever, and now you've become married, they call it the merge crisis because now you're merging lives. Interestingly enough, statistics show that there are couples who have lived together 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, just lived together, even had children, and okay, things were fine. Then they went and got married, and then they had a higher rates of divorce within the first year. People who hadn't even lived together. That tells me that when people say, does it really matter if we marry? There's a covenant that, and a spiritual blessing and a positioning that marriage affords to you that, just living together doesn't. Because if that wasn't the case, why were you okay with each other for 8, 9, 10 years, living together, you had children and you were fine? But then when you went and legalized it and said some words, just words, but those words, you can't just unsay them to come out. You have to then go to court. So there is something, you see what I mean? So, so what Minister Israel said, absolutely.
The Maggie Mugai Show will be right back.
People of God, that to you and I is what we call the honeymoon period. Okay? But I love, let me come in here and say this. I love what you are saying, Minister Israel, about the culture of the Yoruba people in Nigeria. This is it, that there are some bitter I know in our African society, there are some conversations we really need to be having with our parents, whether we like it or not. They're not going to like it, but there are some bitter conversations that we are going to have with our parents, because this is the thing about most African parents. They vicariously live through their children. So whatever it is, they could not become. So let's say they wanted to become a doctor. Listen, even if God's desire, God's calling on their son or their daughter is to be a preacher or to be a teacher or I don't know, anything else, right? They will be like, my son, my daughter, you will become a doctor.
You be a doctor. Yeah, absolutely.
You want to disgrace me? Me, I carried you for 9 months. You sucked my breath. Oh my God.
I told my dad that I wanted, God bless his soul, God rest his soul. I told my dad that I wanted to study law. This man nearly had a fit. He said, lazy people study law. I was like, sorry? I was like, wait, what? He was like, only lazy people study law. He said, why don't you become a doctor? He said, oh, an engineer, that works for me. This man was an accountant. I'm so confused. Like, he looked me into my, like, eyeball to eyeball and told me, no daughter of mine, lawyers, only lazy people study law. I studied law for 8 years, and I can tell you that is a lie.
That's what I was going to say.
After law school, I started wearing glasses, and the only thing I could read that was serious immediately after law school was the Metro, because it's a nonsensical paper. I just could not retain. If you sent me a message and the paragraph was like more than 5 sentences, I couldn't assimilate because I'd crammed so much for a year. So, but I while we're joking, I want to address something very seriously, because I think the reason, and this is partly, I think this is, we need to take ownership of this. Min.Israel is absolutely right about the family, the family dynamics and everything. But I will say this: if you are true to yourself in your family, you don't. It's not. I liken it to when people say, "Oh, I'm dating somebody. I want to hear from God if He's the one," but you've never even asked God about anything else. Same with this. It isn't when you're about to get married that you're going to start having opinion with your family and your mom and your dad. Do you know what I mean? That's too big. You need to bring it down here. That's high. Bring it down here.
Yeah.
You should be saying, I was telling my family and my friends would be surprised if I had a big wedding. They would literally be like, are you marrying the right person? Because everybody who knows me, I don't like crowds. I don't do well with crowds. I don't want it, and I don't want it. Do you know what I mean? And my family have been told. So you need to be, you need to know how to tell people from the get-go. It's not at this big junction that you're gonna, bring that, like, you're high and low.
Right.
You need to be manage the expectations sometimes. And also, can I humbly suggest, pray. These are things that you pray about. When Abraham's servant went to find a spouse for Isaac, the Bible said that he spoke about the intentions. He talked about his Lord and he's rich and the Lord has blessed him. And then he said to them, this is why I've come. What say you? They turned around and they looked at Rebecca, the mother, the father, the brothers, and they asked, will you go?
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is there is agency for the couple. Let's not lie. The reason a couple will not have agency is because in every other aspect of your life with your parents, you didn't have agency.
Yeah.
So you're not going to come now, and when the woman wants to tie gele to this side, you want to deprive her of her gele. Don't be ridiculous. You should have been managing her expectations from the get-go. And that's why I said what I said earlier. You have the conversation with your spouse, united front. You pray. If you need to fast about it, fast. No, not if you need to. What am I saying?
You will
fast
need to fast about it. I'm telling you, don't come into marriage lightly.
Literally, because when you fast and pray to Abba, our Father, who has everything, the Bible says his eyes are on the sparrow. Every little thing concerning us concerns him.
Yeah.
So when you say, this is our desire, Abba, let your perfect will be done. You're telling me the God that said he has the heart of kings in his hand is not going to talk to those parents. Is that what you're telling me? No, come on.
Right.
So you should be having conversations before the wedding day. Yeah. You should be managing their expectation. You should have had agency anyway. You should have and this is all, I just feel like it can be done. But then again, let me temper it by saying I cannot speak for every family dynamic. As I said, I don't have godly parents anymore. I have siblings. My siblings, there's a limit to what they can make me do. I'm the youngest, and I've been like this for a while. So I've been strong-minded for a very long time. I've always been telling them, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this for a while. So if I come like that for my wedding, no, when I come like that, they're not going to expect anything. In fact, they will be surprised if I say, what do you think I should do? They'll put their hand on my forehead and check my temperature.
Are you okay?
The Maggie Mugai Show will be right back.
Right. I love that. I love that. It's definitely really like something that I love what you said, sis, that there are some things that we should have been having these conversations right from the get-go. And I think we spoke about this, Min.Israel. You'll remember in season 1 when we talked about the 10 mistakes that singles make. And one of them was, you know, you've always been, quote unquote, a daddy's girl, a mommy's boy, right? And so they're the ones who've been making the decisions in your life. All this while, what makes you think that now you're about to get married, you're planning your big day, that they're not going to plan it for you? So so there's some conversations, there's some things that you need to have had some type of responsibility, so that, like Miss Becks says, you know, they already know you, they already know your stand on these things, so that when you say it is what it is. They're just gonna have to align with it, or I guess not be at the wedding.
So,
you know.
So I'll say that single people should allow their parents to earn their trust. They should know that you're able to make good decisions for your life. Right. So you should be able to make difficult decisions for your life. And that's not it's not when you want to get married that you start making those decisions. Even before bringing a spouse, before you bring a spouse to the house, do something else. Let them know that this my son is wise, this my daughter is, he has intelligence. Let them trust your judgment. Let them know that you can make good decision for your life. So that when you bring a spouse, or when you're deciding for them that this type of wedding I want to do, they will not argue with you, because they know that you are back end, like you've done it before, you have previous experiences, and they know that you have sense. So they would trust you.
And can I add to that? Even if you make bad decisions, take your L in private, take your loss in private, man up. Because and the reason I said that is because Min.Israel said this earlier, and I completely agree. If you, and it ties to that video that you posted, Pastor Maggie, earlier, when the guy was talking about how Africans they are institutionalized beggars.
Africans are beggars. Africans are institutionalized beggars, right? I'll tell you how Ugandans be begging, right? So I married a Ugandan woman, right? My older brother married a Rwandan woman, right? And at the time of both of our weddings, my old man sat down with us both and said, listen here, man, I don't want to hear a single goddamn word out of you talking about a wedding meeting.
Wedding lunch.
We don't fundraise. Fundraise for what? If you can't afford to pay for your own wedding, don't get married. If you cannot pay for your own wedding in full 150%, don't get married. You're not ready to get married. You're not qualified as a man to say, I want to get married if you can't pay for your own wedding. Don't do it. Don't waste your time. For me, we refer to wedding meetings as institutionalized begging. You're sitting down, presenting a budget of 100 times more than what you can afford to have a wedding, and you want 100% of that to be financed by your friends and family and your loved ones. Like, to me, that is the definition of I'm very happy and comfortable in a culture where we just beg each other for whatever it is that we need.
Do you know what I mean? And I was having that conversation with my friend earlier today. I'm like, Nigerians just love to beg. And I have people who will contact me and, let's just leave that. Ask me, someone contacted me and asked and said, can I please sponsor his wedding? The last time I saw this person was 2019. Before then, I hadn't seen him in 16 years. And he found my number. I didn't even give him my number, but he found my number from a mutual friend. Right. And he messaged me and said, I'm getting married. Can you please sponsor my wedding? I literally was like, if I stopped praying, is voodoo starting to work on me? Because you must have taken something to think that's going to work on me. Like, I literally was like, Rebecca, midnight prayers? I was like, why would I do that? And he said, oh, you know, I can't afford it. So I said, then maybe you're not ready to get married.
This is it.
You know, and he was offended. He was actually hurt, legitimately, genuinely. He was surprised.
Wow.
And the only reason I said that is to go back to this point. You know, I wanted to buttress my point is that Min.Israel said, you know, you earn their trust, make wise decisions. Yes, absolutely. But also, even when you make wrong decisions, take your L in private, or even if they do find out, and they find out later that, oh, that happened, and oh, why didn't you come to me? Oh, I made the decision, it didn't turn out, and I just resolved it. Right. So you're not going to tell your parents that once again, united front with your spouse, remember? Right. And let me just say, if you are an independent person like myself, and you meet somebody who is a mama's boy, flip it if you're male and it's a female, that may be a red sign for you. That may be a red flag. That may be, you know, a sign for you that maybe they're not ready for marriage yet. Because if you can't even be united in terms of decision making and sticking to it for the wedding, and the person is going behind your back and undoing what you've decided, in a marriage, they're likely going to continue that. So it's not, the wedding day doesn't end after you're going to be married to this person. So I just like to give you an additional bonus point for that. It's free. You don't need to pay for that. But you know, when I said take your L in silence or prove that you can learn from mistakes, what I mean is, so if I'm saying I want to have a small wedding or a destination wedding, I should have counted my costs, you know, have my our finances in check, and I should be able to afford it so that I can enforce it. Make sense?
Absolutely.
What it is that I'm saying. So what I'm saying that I'm going to do, I am not at your mercy. If I can't afford my wedding, mommy and daddy are paying for the wedding. Of course, I'm going to have that auntie that backed me when I was 55, 55 years old, because they're the ones funding it. But if I'm with my chest and my spouse, we're funding the wedding, it is our wedding, then everything that we're doing, we're going to honor you. No, and don't forget, you're honoring your parents. Don't forget that. We're not saying dishonor them. Right. We are still honoring them. But if you've prayed about it, let's not lie. Some of us, God will tell you, shh, don't shout, don't loud it, don't shout about this. Let it be very private. In that kind of situation, you can't have parents undoing it by telling certain people. Some of it is the angel told Mary and Joseph different. It was very prescriptive how they were to raise Jesus. The way John the Baptist was supposed to be raised was very prescriptive. The angel spoke to both the father and the mother. It is very possible that God will tell you how to, how to do it. You can only be bold and independent when you got your money.
When you have your money. And this is what I wanted to say about that video. But this is what we were saying, because that video is from Kengadation. So Kenya and Uganda. So being Kenyan, I totally feel that video, because that's exactly how we do weddings. They'll be like, okay, y'all contributing, and I'm like, why do we need to do this? It's your wedding. And I almost feel like it's the same attitude that we brought into even our birthdays. Y'all want to have a massive birthday party, and then you make people pay for your No. If you're gonna throw a party, if you cannot afford the big party, it's okay. I don't think there's a need to have these, begging. It's like the legal begging. You're allowed to beg. It's for your wedding. Yes, come and sponsor my wedding. We need a couple of thousand over here, and so on and so forth. Because can I just say, you are better off, in my opinion. You may not agree with me, but I would say that you are probably better off having the kind of wedding you can afford. And if people come to your wedding, whatever they give, those are financial gifts that you can make use of into your married life. Because it doesn't make sense that you spend, like the sister said earlier here, why would you spend 30,000 pounds, 50,000, 60,000, a couple of million in Kenya shilling, in naira, and so on and so forth, just for one day, and you're not thinking about your future? That's just pure wrong. That is a wrong. That's just something that y'all need to pay attention to. And even what Min.Israel said, as you're planning the wedding, make sure you factor in the honeymoon. The word of God is clear on that. And thanks, Sister Becks, for bringing that on, because that was so powerful to bring that yes, it's the honeymoon kind of season, the time where y'all get to know each other better.
The Maggie Mugai Show will be right back.
I absolutely agree with what you're saying, sis. The whole kingdom mindset is something that we really need to just work from there, and not allow ourselves to just go with the flow. There's a time for go with the flow in certain things that are not so impactful, like they're not making, quote unquote, an impact in your life, right? But when we're talking your wedding day, your marriage, and all that, absolutely. It's just so important to be in the driving seat as the Lord is ministering to you. Because this is your wedding. Because the ceremony is about y'all. And the marriage is you guys. And I think what people are forgetting is that all these people that are involved, they get to go home and they leave the two of y'all. And then you go forward from that point on. So yeah, there are some things that you're going to need to think about, like that whole finances thing. And you know what? Guys, correct me if I'm wrong, and especially for out here in these parts of the world, the pandemic did wedding ceremonies or the whole wedding thing a favor, because guess what? Everything was streamlined. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Guess what? The pandemic helped us, and then guess what happened? It helped us for like a year, and then people lost their minds again.
Yeah, true.
Because the next thing people started doing was, I'm going to do destination wedding. And also remember that the pandemic helped in terms of now you're free to not invite all the people in the world. But what people then started doing was they would have a small amount of people, but then spend so much money still. So it helped in terms of the quantity, the number of people you're inviting. Right. But then people thought, I'm saving so much money in inviting only 100 people. I'm going to have, I've been to weddings where they literally fed us till we left the building.
Wow.
We had the this is a Nigerian thing, to be fair. So you have the buffet style, the jollof rice, the fried rice, and whatever. Then they would have the ones you eat with your hands, like the pounded jam and all that.
Swallow.
Thank you. I forgot that. That's it.
Yeah.
The swallow. After that, and Min.Israel can attest this because in Nigeria it's very decadent. Then they would start giving different types of food. Like then they would bring rice in a leaf, and then maybe 2 hours later, your food hasn't digested, by the way.
Yeah.
The food has. I've missed one. You would have canapes at the reception. And when you sit down in the hall, 2 hours later, you're still at the same venue. You haven't gone to the bathroom, nothing like that. You're still full. Then they'll start bringing you like little things there. Then next thing the MC would announce, there's some food out back. Then you start saying stuff like suya, plantain, fried yam. Then they would have Then they would have Then they'll have the cocktail and the mocktail place where they'll make you cocktails and mocktails. I even saw one time where they had a place where they were giving you candy floss and sweets. I mean, Rebecca, will never go to an event and say to you, don't feed me. Don't get me wrong. I will not say that. But am I going to do that? I will not. And the reason I will not do all those extra things is I'm a little wiser now. One of my closest friends said to me all her life, she's always said to me, she's got £5,000 as a budget for her wedding. And then a couple of months ago, I said to her, that can't be possible. She said, no, seriously. And I was like, but what about inflation? Do you know she went away, came back and said, yeah, Becks, with inflation, 6,000. I was like, come on, how? And when she told me everything, it was 6,000. But guess what she's doing? She's not going to have the proper hearty meal.
Right.
She's gonna have, like, you know, those little cute fun mini burgers.
Right.
And I thought, so I said to her, but why would you do that? And she said, show me in the wedding manual that you all have, that where I have to give you jollof rice and fried rice, and I have to give you this and that. And just finally, because that really made my head just go, yeah. I went to a friend's wedding. She's Caucasian, so, you know, a little context.
Right.
We went for the wedding. The wedding was a church wedding, so everybody, like, we had like maybe 80 people invited to the wedding, the church wedding, and then after it, there was a table laid out with, you know, those kind of like mini drinks that you have, that they give to you on the airplane. Right. Hula hoops and crisps were on the table. Okay. I couldn't believe my eyes. And they said, "Oh, please take a drink and some crisps," and that was it. I wasn't invited to the second part. The second part was only 40 people, and then it was a dinner that they paid for. But they didn't get into debt. They cut their coats according to their size.
Or so much size of their budget.
The Maggie Mugai Show will be right back.
And this is what we are saying, guys, when it comes to this wedding thing. I think the whole point, I think the plans of a wedding have a lot to do with just how your understanding of how you want to do life post wedding day. Okay. And there is nowhere that says just because at wedding A, this is what they served, you should serve the same thing. It's your wedding, serve what you can. And this is what I was trying to say earlier about what a post I saw from my season 1 guest, pastor evangelist Peter Ekichuku, and he said, who said you have to have, you know, the 500, 1,000 people at your wedding? It can just be the bride's family, the groom's family, even if it's at the bride's home. A nice family meal, okay, is cooked. There's a pastor there to pronounce them as husband and wife before God and man. And if that pastor is not, does not have the legal papers to say that he can join people in that way, like a legal document, y'all can go to the registry, go to the courthouse at some point and have that legalized, because then that is still a wedding ceremony. And that would not even cost you, I don't know, not even more than £1,000 at the most. Y'all can wear whatever you want. See, the thing is, it still boils down to what Minister Israel was saying about what kind of wedding are we having? Are we having the kind of wedding for the crowd? Is it a wedding for Instagram? Is it a wedding for just us? And that's what you were saying. The kind of wedding, Miss Becks, you're referring to is the wedding that when y'all have come together in agreement with yourselves, y'all have been praying, and this is the leading of the Lord. And it will not sit well with everybody, because you will be breaking, quote unquote, certain protocols.
Social norms, yeah. Sis, my sister got married in her garden.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so the church was about 5 minutes walk to the house. So people would come, park. We walked to the church, very small church. Once we were done, the reception was in the house. That is one of the weddings that are stuck in my head. She got married in her house. Like, she cooked the food. She cooked some of the food, and the rest of the food other people. So back to what Minister Israel was saying, even with the family, you can do it in such a way that if the family are involved, you've got a close-knit family, you can actually say, oh, one of my aunties is a caterer. Can you make this person? One of my closest friends, would you believe she baked her own cake, her wedding cake?
Amazing.
And on the day of the wedding, she went there and she decorated it with her friends. I didn't know her at the time, so I was hearing about it later. But there's something called DIY weddings, so you can do do yourself weddings. So there are different ways to do it. So my sister did that. She got, the reception was in the house. It was absolutely beautiful, and she had a garden as well, which was really nice. So so we kind of spread out from the living room to the garden. We were there till late. She'd already told she's a barrister, so she knew to already tell neighbors about noise nuisance and whatever. But she'd already told everybody. Neighbors were invited as well. We partied till into the night.
Wow.
She planned her wedding herself over time. So there was no wedding planner, so she cut the cost for that. There was no need for decoration. It's just in the house. The food, as I said, she cooked some of it. Some of the others were cooked by other people. So you can definitely do that. Another tip, I'm just throwing tips out there, is I've also seen 2 friends now do it, one more coming up, where you have all the ceremonies in one day. And that addresses the point that you were making. For
the Africans that like to do the traditional.
So if your parents are like, no, they have to come and posture for us. Yeah. They have to give us yam. They have to bring us a goat. They have to bring us a cow or whatever. You can have everything in one day, and that's what. And I've been to an interracial wedding where that's what happened. They literally had the traditional engagement in the morning, and I think they painted the cow as a horse. It was so funny.
Wow.
It was beautiful. They merged their culture together.
Amazing.
So they had the in the beginning, in the morning, and it was done at the groom's family home outside. They had a little marquee, so they didn't have to rent a space.
Right.
Do you see how you can still do what you want to do in cut cost? So they had that. We walked to the church, which was just behind the house, and they had the wedding there. And then we came back to the marquee, which was the groom's, like I said, family home, and they had it there. So there are ways. Have a DIY wedding.
Absolutely.
The Maggie Mugai Show will be right back.
Absolutely. We're just going to have to get over this fact that we feel we need a societal wedding, and even when you cannot afford it, as if the society is going to come live with you in your marriage when people of God. What was that comment the sister said? Fear God. Y'all should start.
Sis, you're laughing, but I would love you to address that a little bit more, because, when I was preparing for this discussion, the only thing that kept coming to my mind is, God looks at the heart. So it is from our heart condition. That's where you should try your motivation for why you're doing this, because Minister Israel talked about it as well. I remember there was this guy who asked me, do you want an Instagram wedding, or do you want a wedding? And then he asked me, do you want to be married, or do you want a wedding? And I was like, you don't even know me, because if you knew me, you'd know that I don't care about Instagram wedding and I want a small wedding. But the point that he was trying to make was like, these are the things that women, and he was bringing that to me because he's used to women, wanting big and flashy and whatever.
Right.
I've never had a hall party in my life. I turned 40 this year. I had a birthday with 12 people. We went to eat Chinese. Okay, it was high end, but that's not the point. The point is, I didn't do hall or anything like that. I didn't travel and do a cruise. I don't like to do what people are doing.
I've never done a quote unquote.
It's not my style. Yeah. It's not my style. Yeah. So please address that a little bit more, because I think that's what it is. Or Minister Israel, if you want to tie, it's that thing. It's our motivation. What is pushing us to do this?
Go for it, Minister Israel, and then I'll jump on and wrap it up and call it a night, so you can also get to your dinner party, girl.
All right, so thanks. I believe it has to do with the heart and what we see around, right?
Yeah.
So I believe for every decision we make, it ties down to our belief system,
right?
And maybe the people that we admire, right? So for instance, you see celebrity weddings, all of those things that we see online. Some people want to follow suit because those are the people they admire. But coming from this kingdom perspective, what you need to do, you just have to do it, and there are different ways of doing things.
Yeah.
One man will always tell us that 8 plus 8 is 16, right? Yeah. Also, 6 plus 10 is still 16. So it's just giving different variables that you can get to a particular location using different strategies.
Come
So
on.
if the goal is for you to get married or you want to have a wedding, there are many ways to do it. So you don't need to follow a particular route. Oh, this is how it's been done. And by the way, that statement that this is how it's been done, anybody that is still saying that thing, we should be okay. Let me skip that. But the thing is, there are many ways to do things, and people that are rigid, I believe they are the very difficult people to live with. Yeah. When you see people that are rigid, that just stick it to one way.
Yeah.
Those set of people that are very difficult, even to work with. It will be very difficult for you to work with them because, I mean, if you are going to this way, we can just follow the fastest route to get there, but they will tell you no. It has to do with your heart. We need to question your heart. Why are you doing this? Do you want to achieve this goal or you want to follow the crowd? So the intent of the heart is very, very important. Now we need to question it. And the Bible says we should keep renewing our mind. Like you should keep renewing your heart daily.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. I mean, y'all have brought in so many amazing angles that we really need to address and think about moving forward and how we plan our wedding day ceremony, because that's just the beginning of the married life, the marriage itself. And you don't want to set up yourself for a fall by getting into debt. Debt is one of the things that's going to spoil a marriage. I can tell y'all that for free. Okay. And like we said, you know, do what is comfortable for you. If you never got anyone saying to you, hey sis, I heard you're getting married. Here's, $5,000. Here's whatever. If you're from that kind of culture, and like I said, for those of us that are East African, from that post that I posted earlier, that's just how we do in East Africa. They'll be like, okay, we're getting married. Okay, let's call in a fundraiser. And I'm not gonna tell you not to do that. If that's what you want to do, I guess
so
do that. But
wedding, they outsource you.
Yeah, exactly. And when that happens, just know you're not even in control. You are not even in control of what happens, So y'all want to talk about these things, and just be sincere. Like I said, from your heart. Are you getting married for Instagram? Are you getting married to show off to your high school schoolmate, your college, whatever? That individual that you wanted to get with and they turned you down, and now you want to show them that, hey, you made it. I'm telling you, people have motives, girl. People have motives in these things. So listen, plan beyond, factor in the things that matter. And ultimately just know that what we call a wedding is really just subject to how you interpret that entire ceremony. Yeah, how you define it, because really it's just two people coming together. The party that surrounds the actual coming together, just know everybody goes home and you be left alone to go do life thereafter. Absolutely. So yeah, we're gonna leave it here. I hope you enjoyed tonight's discussion. If you're not already following us on YouTube, please do follow us on YouTube. There is a ton of content, guys, so join us for that. On YouTube. So we're season 3, people, 2 years into this series. Amazing. So with that said, people of God, join us next Friday. Next week's show is on a Friday, and we have Minister Saji Olayinka, and we're going to be unpacking traditional versus church wedding. Yeah. So this particular conversation was kind of like laying the foundation for that. You don't want to miss it. Why do we feel that we have to have the big fat African traditional wedding, and then we feel it's not enough, we have to have a white church wedding and all that, adding the cost and all that? Join us for that. From me, Maggie Murgai, and my contributors, Minister Israel in Lagos, Nigeria, Miss Becks in London, we are signing off. We're saying thank you very much, y'all. We will see you next Friday. God bless y'all. Take care. Bye for now. Bye. Bye, everybody.
This is the Maggie Guy Show.